everyone, and welcome back. This is going to be episode 2 in our kitchen gardening series where we are going to be growing all of our vegetables in containers this year, minus the exception of using my cattle panels for my indeterminate tomatoes. But anyways, we are going to get started, and I'm so dang excited to get some determinate tomatoes and peppers starting today. And hey, if you're new here, my name is Christy. I am located in Western Massachusetts, Zone 6A, and my average last frost date falls around May 10th to May 15th. However, I have learned a lot since last year where I will not be putting any of my vegetables out until Memorial Day weekend. I was so antsy to get them put into the ground last year that we had a cold snap where it got into the 40s for one night. I had to tarp up my peppers. It was windy, they got stunted, and my indeterminate tomatoes got a little bit of a beating because they were so tall while I was planting them out, and it was so windy that some of the vines kind of snapped. So we are going to wait until Memorial Day weekend to get them planted, but I am super excited to get them going today. And today we are going to be starting all of our seeds in my Bootstrap Farmer Kit. I am so dang excited to get them going. I literally have color-coded everything. So each pepper variety has their own color, and the same thing with my determinate tomatoes. Now, we are just getting them started in these trays. We'll be potting them up differently over the course of the series, where we will finally be planting them out into containers either on my back deck, or I do have some little pockets in the corners of my fenced-in area where they will be away from the bunnies and not nibbled on. But it doesn't mean that Chippy the Chipmunk might not be eating all of my tomatoes, but that is to be determined in a few months. It is now the last day in February, so today is February 28th. I waited about an extra 2 weeks to get my peppers and tomatoes started compared to the past 2 years. Usually I do everything on Valentine's Day. It was really good, I feel like, for my determinate tomatoes to do them on Valentine's Day. They didn't get too tall to plant out. My indeterminate tomatoes, however, I am pushing back a whole month because they were literally 3 feet tall on this back shelf right here, and it was such a pain to harden them off. Peppers, however, I could have also started on Valentine's Day, especially jalapenos. Anything that is like a hot pepper is going to take a little bit longer compared to like a snacker or a sweet pepper, which is mostly what I focus on and eat at my house. However, I am starting some jalapeno peppers for a coworker. I actually went around on Friday asking some of my colleagues if they wanted some peppers. So we had some interest in some bell and snacker peppers from a good amount, and then also a jalapeno from one of them. But we're going to get some started in a 6-cell pack today. So I am using the Bootstrap Farmer Kit. It is going to be the ultimate backyard gardener's one, and I am so excited to have these nice bright colors here to brighten up the grow space. And on my grow racks, they are getting extremely tight right now, and all I see is just dirt and some green. So to get some color in there, I am so excited. Like, the little things is what really matters sometimes. So first I want to talk about the varieties we are starting. Actually, a lot of these are going to be saved seeds from my vegetable garden or from the farm share that I used to be a part of a few years ago. I still have lots of seeds. Don't discredit anything that you might have, like for tomatoes or peppers or flowers, if this expiration date seems to be a few years back. Last year in 2005, I started a bunch of tomato seeds from 2021 and 2022, and almost all of them germinated. Just know that your germination rate might go down a little bit, but don't throw away those seed packets. You can still use them. Even if you plant 5 and you get like 1 or 2 that are viable and start to grow, that is fantastic. So don't throw away your old seeds. So today I have 4 different tomato seeds that I'm going to be starting. These are all my determinate tomatoes, which means after a little while they are going to stop growing a certain height. Well, they're supposed to, but I will tell you that my determinate tomatoes just kept growing and growing and growing. I don't pinch them at all once they get to a certain height. I just let them keep going. I had them all last year basically just fold over on top of each other. It was a tomato jungle. I have them usually staked with just some individual stakes. This year, since I'm going to be using containers for my tomatoes, I do have some tomato cages, which will fit perfectly in. I had some friends and family that were tossing theirs, so I snatched those up, but I do still have my tall 5 or 6 foot stakes, which I can always use, and then I just tie them as they go. So for the 4 tomatoes that we will be starting today, 3 of them are going to be saved seeds, and then 1 is going to be by Burpee. So for my farm share, I don't know exactly what kind of tomato it was, but I did write that it was an heirloom pink, and these are going to be from 2024. I also have some large yellow. These are all basically slicer tomatoes. My coworker absolutely loves them. I will bring her in a basket of them. I had so many last year, probably like 50 plants, that I couldn't even give them away for free at my stand. So that is also why I'm scaling back, because fun fact, I don't care for tomatoes actually, especially the slicer ones. My mother-in-law loves them. My colleagues love them. My coworker absolutely loves them. So I kind of grow them for them, but I also just really love growing tomatoes. But Indeterminate tomatoes is another story, because I make this delicious pasta dish, which I always say I'm going to share and I always forget that I will be using those for. So I have some large yellow slicer tomato seeds, which are also going to be from 2024. I have some big rainbow heirloom seeds, again from 2024. And then from Burpee, I just have their big daddy seeds, and these are from 2022. I kid you not. I was still growing these last year and they did phenomenal. I just want some nice red slicers for when I have friends over and we're eating hot dogs and hamburgers. I can slice these up, or for a nice salad. So I'm just going to get a couple of these going, probably about like 6 or so of them. Now for peppers, I have 5 different varieties. Well, I really only have 4, because I do have bell pepper seeds. I have some from 2024 and then some that I harvested last year. So I am just going to grow a little bit of each. But my first variety is that I do have some orange lunchbox peppers. And when I grow my peppers, I like to put in 2 per cell, and then I'll pot them up later on. Peppers kind of like to hold hands. So I like to get 2 of them in there, and I've had no problem with 2 of them sharing a cell, potting up, and then planting them out. They kind of hold each other up, especially as they grow. Their branches kind of intertwine together, and it kind of holds them a little bit more upright, especially because here is just so windy. I also have some red bell peppers. I'm going to be starting 2 trays of those in the purple. Those are going to be from 2024. And then I have in my pink containers right here, I have some, I don't know if those, I think they're both red bell peppers, to be honest. I have some from last year that I saved. I'm going to also do 2 trays of these. So that means I have 12 cells. There will be 24 peppers in total. And I figure if I have any extra starts and my coworkers don't want them, I can always sell them at my flower stand. I have some orange snacker peppers that I saved from last year. I'm pretty sure these weren't like too tall and bushy. They're a little bit lower to the ground, more compact. And then we will also be starting some jalapeno peppers today. So with all of that said, we are going to start with our peppers. We'll work our way to tomatoes, because tomatoes are actually super easy. I kind of just chuck them in and then let them grow and germinate. And then a few weeks later, I will pot them up into some 6-cell trays. So we'll save those for the end. So we're going to start with peppers right now. All right, for peppers, especially with bell peppers or sweet or snacker peppers, you're going to want to start them anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks before planting them out. And with anything that's like a hot pepper, you might want to start them more than 12 weeks. I am not planting mine out until Memorial Day weekend. So that's going to give me an extra 2 weeks compared to last year. So I'm starting them 2 weeks later. So it kind of actually evens out nicely. I like to start mine in potting soil. You can start them in some seed starting mix. This year, I am just doing all pro mix for all of my seed starting, and I've had some pretty decent results. Sometimes when growing peppers, they actually don't need light to germinate. You're going to cover them with either your seed starting mix or your potting soil, about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch. I always like to top mine off with vermiculite. However, once they do start to pop up and germinate, you're going to take the humidity dome off, and you're going to want to make sure that you put them under some grow lights or in a sunny window. I like to use shop lights or grow lights. I have both. Shop lights have just been a little bit more convenient for me to find. Instead of ordering online, I just go to Costco, and right now they actually have a single pack of up to 5,000 or 10,000 lumen. I keep mine at 5 right now, and they link up, which is really convenient as well. Once I see my peppers start to get a couple true sets of leaves, I will start fertilizing them. I start with a diluted amount of fertilizer. I like to use the Neptune's Harvest. It's that blue bottle. And then as they get bigger, I will start doing like a half strength to a full strength as they grow on. And I haven't had any issues with this, so I've always been sticking to my Neptune's Harvest. I believe it's like the fish fertilizer. Again, it's that blue bottle. And once I plant them out, I do like to fertilize them. I usually do it every Friday or Saturday. It's just a good way for me to remember. And I also have a little bit extra time to fertilize on the weekend. Once they are planted out, though, I will change over to the Alaskan fish fertilizer as well. And then there's also that Big Grow. I forgot who it's by, maybe Fox Farm, that I will also use once they are starting to get a little bit larger. So I do change it up, but just inside, I just do a nice diluted fish fertilizer because it can get a little stinky. Right now, I'm going to fill all of these trays up with some potting soil, and then we are going to get our peppers started, and then we will move on to our tomatoes. So let's get planting. I have all of my trays ready to go. I, again, am using potting soil. This is the Pro Mix variety. Everything is pre-moistened, and just for me to make sure that I have the correct amount of water, I will just take some soil in my hands. I would give it a nice good squeeze. If it stays nice and compact in a form just basically like this, then I know that I'm good to go. If you're squeezing it and all these water droplets are coming out, no worries, just add some more soil. You don't want it to be too soggy, but if you can keep it in this nice form right here, then you are going to be good to go. So everything is filled up nicely. We are going to start with our red bell peppers from 2024. So these are still going to be from my garden. And I started some, I want to say a few days ago. I was hoping that they would have already sprouted by now, but they have not. I forgot to mention, I also like to keep my temperature above 75 degrees on the heat mat. I do have a heat mat with a probe, and I stick it in, and then that way I can monitor the temperatures. It does get really warm in this room. It's actually 45 degrees outside. It is so nice. My kids were actually outside in their snow gear and t-shirts with no jacket. I was trying to uncover some of my garden beds so I could get my ranunculus planted in a few weekends because it's going to start warming up, and I wanted to help out with the snow removal. It was actually just so nice and warm. I absolutely loved it. So I'm going to take these seeds and I am going to put them at opposite corners, and I will put 2 per cell, and then I'm going to go back and cover them up with some soil. They do not need light to germinate. I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'll get in a little bit closer, but I'm going to do the same exact thing for everyone. Also this way, if you are doing 2 per cell and 1 doesn't germinate, then you're gonna hopefully have the second one sprout. And do I really need all of these peppers? No, I do not. But I absolutely love growing vegetables so much. So I'm gonna put these on opposite ends. And then we will cover them up, and I'll put vermiculite on at the end. All right, so these are gonna be my bell peppers from 2024. I can get them back in, that would be great. All right. And there we go. So I'm going to cover them all up later, but this is basically what they're going to look like. They look like little dice. So I have those, and make sure that you add a label to everything. I usually like to do mine beforehand so I don't forget. So these are gonna be my bell peppers. Same thing, the red bell peppers. I will harvest them while they're still green. I will let a couple of them go and mature so they're red. So I'm gonna get these started as well. Same process, we're gonna do 2 per side. I'm gonna have so many peppers. I probably won't know what to do with myself. I'll probably only keep about 6 or 8 of them for myself. We use them almost every single night. We do a lot of cooking at home, and I just love picking 8 fresh pepper outside. Okay. And saving pepper seeds is fairly easy as well. Let's see. That one looks a little sad, so I might just put a 3rd one in just in case. I'm gonna need a few more. All right, and then we have our 2025 seeds all set. And here they are again up close. So it's going to be the same thing, and we'll go back and I'm gonna cover these all up at the same exact time. I kind of like to do things in batches where I will put the seeds all down, I will fill everything together, and then the same thing, cover them up, put vermiculite on. It just makes it a little bit easier on my end. Here's gonna be a little bit of a close-up. We are doing our jalapenos right now. These are actually from M.I. Gardner. I packaged a few up to give out when I had some seed swapping, and I had really great harvests from them last year. So I had some extra seeds. So I'll put those in opposite corners. I don't know if I have enough to put 2 in, so that's okay if I don't. These are just going to be for my coworker. Oh, perfect. I have one more hiding in there. All right, and these are going to be our jalapenos. Up next, we have our lunchbox peppers. This is an orange variety. I love lunchbox peppers, or the snacker ones. They're just good to go and grab. And these I actually got from seed swapping. And I don't believe I used these last year. So we'll start those. Some of them might only have one as well. All right, so these are, got stuck to my finger. These are going to be our lunchbox peppers. And last but not least, we have our orange snacker peppers, which I'm assuming are about the same thing. These ones I harvested from my backyard last year. And I really enjoyed them. All right, and we're all set. We're gonna go and bury these right now. I have everything buried right now under some soil, and then I am going to add some vermiculite on top. It's just going to help with that moisture control, especially since it does kind of get a little bit humid in here and you're going to be growing them at warmer temperatures. So I'm going to lightly sprinkle that over right now, and then we are going to mist them in and get them onto the heat mat. Vermiculate on everything right now. I'm going to take my mister and we are going to water everything in well. It's just going to help settle that vermiculite, which is being used for moisture control. And also, even though these are covered by some more soil, just making sure that that seed has some good contact. It'll help with your germination rates. So I'm going to give everything a nice soaking, and then I still have some room over here where I can put my tomato plants, or sometimes I put them on the heat mat and I just put a Ziploc bag over it, and you're going to be good to go. All right, this looks good. Let's move on to our tomatoes. We are moving on to our Determinate tomatoes. We have 4 different varieties that we will be starting today. They're going to be the same as peppers. They're going to need about 1/4 of an inch buried in some seed starting mix or your potting soil. You're going to want to keep them moist. They don't need light to germinate. And I will be adding some vermiculite on top as well. With tomatoes, I do things a little bit differently. I will scatter all the seeds into just one container, cover them with some soil and vermiculite, water them on top, and you can do one of 2 things. You can put them, I'm just going to put them with the rest of my seed starting mix. They only need to be about 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit when you are germinating them. So I'm going to keep mine at around 75, maybe 72, because it does get warmer in there. Now these don't need light to germinate, which is good because I'm going to put them on a 4-foot mat that doesn't have any lights on right now. And you can do 2 different ways. You can put them, I'm just going to put mine with the rest of my peppers and the humidity dome, or I just saved these Ziploc bags. I have actually been reusing them, and all you have to do is just put them right on top like this. And that is going to be your little humidity dome. And then I will put a bottom tray on just as well, so this doesn't get direct contact with the heat mat, especially if some water tends to run off of it. It will get caught on the bottom pan, but you can do this as well. You don't have to have a humidity dome. I usually use solo cups. I'm still going to be growing some of my tomatoes with my double solo cup method because I have loved that for the past few years. And I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison, seeing how it is if you just put it in a regular pot compared to the double solo cup method, because I do swear by that as well. But we're gonna get everything started in here, and then I'm gonna prick some of them out, pot them up into these, and then the rest will go into a solo cup. So first up, we have our large yellow. So these are gonna be saved seeds that I had from my farm share. I made sure that I knew when I was going to be ending my time with my farm share, which I absolutely love, by the way, but I wanted to bring it to my house. It was just getting too much when I had kids, and all they wanted to do was play on the playground. Oh boy. I saved a ton of seeds. So I'm probably gonna just put 10 or so in here, because I do plan on at least having 5 or 6 just for my house. And then I am sure someone will want them, but I don't. I'm super limited. Last year I started like over 100 of them. I gifted a ton of them. I planted a ton of them, and I just made it work. But this year I just don't have the room for it because I am just growing so many things. So we're gonna save the rest and we'll use those again next year. So again, I just scatter them. You can see them right here on top. I'm just going to try and separate those ones that moved. And saving tomato seeds, it's a little bit tricky, but once you get the hang of it, it's so worth it. And I am just going to put a light layer of soil on top. I usually do this all at once, but there's only 4 trays. So it's going to look like this, and then we'll get our vermiculite and we'll water them in again, and we're gonna be good to go. So we just did our large yellow, and now we're going to move on to the big rainbow. And again, I don't know the exact varieties that they were. I kind of just made a guess based off of what they looked like. So we're gonna do the same process right now. All right, and I don't even know how many I have. Oh wow, I have a ton left, so that makes me super happy. So I'm going to scatter these. Oh, and I already forgot to put the plant tag. Let's see. This is Big Rainbow. And I'm going to make it a little note in my calendar to try and save some of the seeds from this current year, just in case I don't run out. All right, so that's going to be good. They are all on top, sprinkled in, and then I'm just going to put a light layer of soil over them, just so they're barely covered. And then I always like to press down, make sure they have a good contact with the soil. And I'll leave those there. And next up, we're going to do the burpee variety. It is called Big Daddy. I just found it's a nice red slicer. I don't have any favorites I could give you for Determinate tomatoes because, again, I don't eat them. I will say that when it comes to indeterminate tomatoes, my favorite is Super Sweet 100s, and Sun Gold is definitely a must. I grow a lot of Sun Golds and Super Sweet. And then sometimes and the yellow pear. Those are usually my 3 go-tos. Let's see, scatter those. And then I will cover. But yeah, with the cherry tomatoes, those I will eat. But I'm just not a fan of the big slicer ones. There we go. But if you have a favorite variety, definitely let me know. I may not be trying them out, but I might, once we get more space for our flowers, grow more vegetables again. So we have our 3rd one, and our last one is going to be the heirloom pink. And then I'm going to get these on a 4-foot heat mat. Since they don't need light to germinate, it's great. I do have like a little tripod light. It does pretty good. It's not super strong or anything, and it's kind of hard to fan it out. But I use it if I have things that don't need light, or I'm not too concerned. It might take a little bit longer to germinate. Let's see. But it gets the job done. All right, and then here is our last one, and we'll get some vermiculite on. All right, I'm gonna add my vermiculite, and then we're gonna water them in, and then we're gonna be good to go with our tomatoes. And I'll probably leave at least one of them in this container, or else usually if I do start seeds in solo cups, I only fill it up about halfway. And then I like to bury it later on, but we will get into that once it is time to pot them up. These are going to be good. I'm going to add my water. I'm going to add a decent amount just to make sure they're well watered in. And then hopefully in about 7 to 10 days, we'll see germination on our peppers and our tomatoes. So these are good to go. We'll get them on the heat mat, and then I will do a check-in later on when it comes time to potting them up. And here we have it. So we have our peppers all ready to go. And I'm going to leave the tomatoes in here. They're all going to be sharing the same 10 by 20 tray. I'm going to attempt to add the humidity dome. So they're going to sit cozy in there, and it does have some vents in case if it gets a little bit too humid in there. I sometimes will open them up, but I'm going to get these onto the heat mat. And I had to show you just before I put them on the heat mat. I mean, look how good these look. So they're going to sit at about 72, 75 degrees Fahrenheit, 7 to 10 days. We will check in on them, and then once they are germinated, I will take them off of the heat mat. I will take the humidity dome off, and then I'm just gonna get them under some grow lights. With the peppers, I wait until they're a few inches tall or have a couple sets of true leaves before I pot them up. Again, I'm going to pot them up in pairs. They will be holding hands until they get planted out into the garden. And when it comes time to the tomatoes, I will wait a few weeks as well, and then they will each get potted up into their own individual container. Now, what I like to do, and I'll talk about this once I am potting them up as well, is I will bury them pretty deep because I want them to have a really good root system. The more that you bury the stem, the more roots it will develop. It's really cool how tomatoes work. So I usually will fill about 3/4 to like half the container with soil. I will bury them, and as they grow, I will actually keep adding potting soil week by week or every other week. So that way they have those really nice strong roots. It gets super windy here. Even though I do stake and tie them up, they will still end up collapsing at some point. And when you plant them out, you can plant them sideways just to help, again, with that root system to be established. And I've had such great success with tomatoes. Now, it might be a little bit earlier on the tomatoes. Some say like 6 to 8 weeks. I do a little bit beforehand because I just want some nice early harvest. Last year, I started them on Valentine's Day. I planted them out around my last frost date, so somewhere between May 10th and 15th, and I had such early harvest. I was so excited, and I was able to harvest them all throughout the summer, whereas in years past, I waited that 6 to 8 weeks, and then I had a late harvest come probably like late summer, early fall, and then I had so many green tomatoes that just never ripened. They actually just would ripen in the sun inside, and so I didn't have that much of an issue last year. So I'm happy with starting them early. And again, I will be potting half of them in my double solo cups and half of them into the Bootstrap Farmer containers to do a nice side-by-side comparison. And I'm just super excited to be using this Ultimate Backyard Kit. And if you have any interest into purchasing one yourself, I will have a link down below. So don't forget to check that out because I'm obsessed. I'm so excited to try these out. And if you would like to stay tuned with all of our updates in this upcoming series of kitchen gardening, focusing on containers, go ahead and click like and subscribe and hit that bell button, and I'll see y'all next time. Happy gardening. Bye.